Tom Smotherman of Smotherman Exterminating Service, Slidell.
When we did the contract, it was strictly for a pest control service. But Mr. Semi Fairley asked me would I be willing to put a school on a pilot program. Now, my idea was that it wouldn't be fair to put a new school like Bunny E. Cole on a pilot program without also trying one of the older schools like Brock Elementary. So I suggested that we try two schools, an old school and a new school. And we did that for a year.
Was this something new to you? Had you used these techniques before?
We've always tried to use as little chemical as possible. For one thing, for the health benefits, the safety, and plus the cost of chemicals. You don't want to just go out and throw them around when you don't need to.
Right.
And we've always been very conscious. I've had children of my own. I've got a grandchild, and I certainly don't want to do nothing in somebody else's house, or especially in the schools, that I wouldn't do in my own house. And I don't use chemicals. I use them sparingly in my house. It has to be a team effort, and as you know, our program has been called a success so far. Our program has been recognized more out of the state and other parts of the state than it is within the parish. And the reason our program has been as successful as it has been due to the teamwork. I usually just report to Mr. Semi Fairley or either his secretary, Kim Taylor. And Mr. Fairley is very supportive of our program. And I know that when we talk to him, he goes to Mr. Tanner or Mr. Monteleon, and they support our program. The schools have really accepted our program. There's too many principals for me to mention, but just some of them off the top of my head is Miss Cynthia Russell over at Pineview, Miss Allums down at Mandeville Elementary, Scotty Kuhlman over at Bunny E. Cole. Most all of the principals have worked with us. We have no problem with anywhere in the system. We do have a couple of schools that when we bid this contract originally, it didn't have any Saturday work on it. But we soon realized their schools in this parish has got something going almost 24 hours a day during the week. So we have had to put some schools on a Saturday schedule. And that's worked out pretty good. We've just gotten a lot of support. Another thing that has made this program such a success is the fact that the schools are so clean. It surprised me when I went in. It really surprised me. In the school system right now, we have the schools in good shape. The schools are in good shape. They're in better shape today than they were a few years ago when there was a lot of chemicals being used in the schools.
How long have you been in the pest control business, sir?
Oh, more years than I care to remember. About 28, 29 years.
29 years. Have you seen that much information coming down from your trade associations, other pest control operators, about IPM?
Just recently, our association, the Louisiana Pest Control Association, they have recognized the St. Tammany. In fact, one of the school board members,
Miss Young? Patty Young?
Patty Young, yeah. I'm sorry, Miss Patty Young. She was invited over to make a presentation at the last convention over in Baton Rouge. And it's going to be hard to be accepted in the industry because a lot of our industry, especially the associations, they're kind of supported by the chemical companies. But it's the coming thing. I think that before too long it will be mandated probably. In fact, there are already some guidelines put down. Even Louisiana has put some strict guidelines down in the last couple of years. Yes, this is some of the things that we use in the program. We use a lot of different things, but this is a little blue board, it can be used actually as a mouse board to catch a mouse, or it can be used as a monitoring board. We also have the smaller, which is actually an insect monitoring board. These little boards are made with a glue pad under the bottom where you can stick them up or stick them behind something. Or we use a lot of them above the doors around the cafeterias because for some reason the German roach always likes to go to that top hinge of that door. And usually when you're cleaning the building out, that will be the last place you will find that German roach. So we do use a lot of these around the top of the doors.
Now, how do those work?
Well, these, I didn't pull them off because they get kind of messy. You just pull the paper off, exposes the glue. If you want to glue it up, you pull the backing off on the back, and it actually glues up. I mean, you can stick it under a cabinet or up on the wall. Put it in the way you want to. It closes up to make it look good, and so that you don't see the bug when he gets on there without getting up and actually looking at it. This one basically is the same thing. It's just larger. Also, these boards you could just take the backing off and use it as a glue board by laying it down flat. We don't have time to talk about everything that's made this program a success. One of the things that has made our program such a success is that when I see a situation, I call Mr. Farrelly, and the maintenance department is out there the next day. I mean, we have no problem getting what we feel like needs to be corrected. If it's a hole where a rat has eaten a hole before, or just a crack that was accidentally left there, maintenance is great. They have really helped us, and you know, there's no further way than just call it Mr. Farrelly. The only drawback to the program is it's labor intense. That is the drawback. And you pretty well have to know the habits of whatever you're after. You got to, you know, you know pretty well when you walk in one of these schools, you know where the problem's going to be. We're getting the thing down now to where we're all working together, and it is working. It's just we get remarkable support from everybody. You know, we have no quarrel with anybody in this system because we try to work with them. To start with, you know, sometimes I'd get a little aggravated when somebody would start hollering, you know, I got a bad problem, and after you talk to them a few minutes, they said, oh yeah, I saw one, you know, and in a system as big as this school system, as many supplies is brought in, you or anybody is occasionally you're going to have a problem. We've got our chemicals. We figured from going back over old invoices and our own invoices for the first year and the second year. We feel like we have cut the chemical at least 95%. Now, you know, an IPM program, when IPM was first talked about, they say that you had to have a level of tolerance. Well, we don't really have much tolerance here because if one of these teachers sees something, they start hollering, you know. So we don't tolerate a whole lot of problems. In addition to education of the school personnel, we're starting to work with some PTA organizations. In fact, I think Mr. Farrelly is working on a program now that maybe he can actually send some information to the parents to kind of explain the program. And when the children bring their lunches, they need to be in Ziploc bags, them that the tiger can't smell the steak in, you know, because all these ants can't smell what's in that bag and come after them.
When you started the IPM program, there wasn't a whole lot to go on. There wasn't any books or anything to tell you exactly step by step. How did you launch the program?
Basically, just using our knowledge of how you got to understand a pest. You got to think like a rat. You got to think like a roach. In the business, 27 years, you pretty well figure out. You know, I pretty well. Somebody can tell me over the telephone basically what kind of problem, and I know right where to go and take care of that problem and how to take care of that problem. This all comes with time. Our aim is to do the best job possible, and our ultimate aim, which I had hoped to have achieved before this last July, which we didn't, our aim is to make these schools completely chemical free. That's our aim. We've got it about as close as we can possibly get it without some other things happening, and that is the food in the classrooms, eating in the classroom,